All right, let's get right into it. We're about to take a cinematic, verse-by-verse journey through one of the most intense and visually powerful chapters in the entire New Testament, 2 Peter chapter 2.
Right from the start, the chapter hits you with this chilling idea. What if the biggest threat to your safety, to your faith, wasn't some enemy trying to break down the door? What if it was already inside the house with you?
And with that setup, Peter just dives right in. He begins to expose the secret, incredibly dangerous nature of these false teachers. So, verse 1 kicks things off. To really get this, picture a huge, beautiful Trojan horse. It looks like an amazing gift, right? It's being wheeled quietly into a walled city at night. No one suspects a thing. But inside, it's packed with soldiers ready to destroy the city from within. That's the picture here, a secret, deadly infiltration. Now, in verse 2, we see the damage start to spread. Imagine a perfectly pure, crystal clear river, the source of life for everyone downstream. And then someone pours a dark, toxic sludge into it. The poison spreads, and soon the very way of truth is contaminated, making everyone sick. So what's their motive? Well, verse 3 tells us it's greed. Picture a slick, smiling salesman hawking fake miracle cures. He's charming, his words are deceptive, and he's making a fortune. But what you can't see is the ticking time bomb hidden right under his sales table. His judgment isn't sleeping. After exposing their methods, Peter totally shifts gears. He's about to lay out the historical evidence, basically saying, oh, you think people get away with this stuff? Let me show you the receipts. Judgment isn't just a threat, it's a historical fact. He pulls out 3 massive examples from history. Think of them like Exhibit A, B, and C in a cosmic court case, proving that God's justice is very, very real. First up, verse 4. The image here is just epic. Visualize these majestic, powerful, winged angels who sinned, and in an instant they are violently thrown down into a shadowy abyss, bound by chains made of pure darkness, just waiting for judgment. Then, in verse 5, the camera pulls way, way back. You see an endless, dark, raging ocean that has completely swallowed the entire world. And in the middle of all that chaos, there is one tiny speck of light and hope, Noah's Ark, floating alone. Precedent number 3 arrives in verse 6. Imagine watching a time-lapse of a huge, vibrant, sprawling city. Then, in a flash, the color drains out and the whole thing just crumbles into gray ash and smoke. What's left is a silent, smoking ruin, a permanent warning sign. But, and this is so important, it's not all about judgment. Verse 7 shows us the other side of the coin, rescue. You see a glowing angel physically grabbing Lot by the arm and pulling him out of that chaotic, wicked city right before it's destroyed. And verse 8 really zooms in on why he needed rescuing. Picture a tight close-up on Lot's face. It's just full of pain. We're told his soul was tormented day in and day out by all the lawless things he was forced to see and hear around him. Okay, so all of this has been building to the main point in verse 9. It's the core principle. You could call it a divine equation. God knows how to do 2 things at once. He knows how to rescue the godly from the fire, and he knows how to hold the unrighteous for the day of judgment. So who are these people being held for judgment? Verse 10 gets really specific. It's those who follow their own corrupt desires and, crucially, despise authority. To really get this, just picture someone arrogantly walking up to a royal throne and spitting on it. That's the attitude. Total contempt. But then, verse 11 shows us this incredible contrast. You have these mighty angels, way more powerful and stronger than any human, standing before God's throne. But they don't bring insults or accusations. They show restraint and respect. So now the lens zooms in even closer. We're shifting from the big picture of judgment to a detailed, almost forensic analysis of these false teachers. We're going to see what really makes them tick. Verse 12 does not hold back. It compares them to wild animals that operate purely on instinct. Imagine a fox that has no idea what a trap is, and it just blindly runs right into it. It's destroyed by something it can't even comprehend. Verse 13 calls them spots and blemishes. Here's the picture. You're at a beautiful wedding banquet. The tablecloth is pure white. But these people are like reckless guests who've spilled dark red wine all over it, staining the whole event while they feast right there with you.
Man, verse 14 gets even more personal. It gives us two chilling images. First, a pair of eyes that are never still, always scanning, always looking for something to devour, like a predator. And second, a heart that doesn't beat to a normal rhythm, but to the sound of clinking coins. It's been trained, like an athlete, for greed.
And where does all this lead? Verse 15 shows us. Imagine a clear fork in the road. One path is straight, safe, and well-lit. The other is a crooked, dangerous, dark trail. And you watch as someone deliberately ignores the good path to chase a bag of gold down the treacherous one. And then in verse 16, we get this legendary rebuke. It's an unforgettable scene. The prophet is on that crooked path, and suddenly his donkey just stops, turns its head, and speaks to him in a human voice, literally stopping his madness in its tracks. Okay, we've seen who they are. Now we're entering the final act of the chapter. This part focuses on their hollow words, their empty promises, and the absolutely devastating consequences for anyone who buys what they're selling. Peter sets up this next part with a powerful contrast, basically showing us what's on the advertisement versus what's actually in the box. And verse 17 delivers that contrast. He calls them wells without water. Just imagine you are lost in a desert, dying of thirst. You see a well in the distance. It's a sign of hope, of life. You use your last bit of energy to run to it, only to find it's completely cracked and bone dry, useless. So how do they do it? How do they hook people? Verse 18 explains. Picture a fisherman casting a line. He's got a big, shiny, impressive-looking lure on it. It flashes in the sun, but it's just hollow plastic. It has no substance, yet it's expertly designed to attract the very fish who just managed to escape from a net. The irony in verse 19 is just staggering. They promise freedom while they themselves are slaves. The visual here is a man covered from head to toe in heavy, rusty chains, but he's holding out a single key to other people, promising to set them free. Verse 20 shows us the tragic outcome. See a person who has fought tooth and nail to climb almost all the way out of a deep pit of thick mud. They're inches from solid ground, from freedom, but then they slip, and they get tangled up and dragged right back down, sinking even deeper than they were before. And the conclusion in verse 21 is just heartbreaking. It's like watching someone standing at the entrance to a beautiful, brightly lit path. They see it, they know it's the right way, but then you watch them deliberately turn their back on the light and choose to walk into utter darkness. Peter ends this whole intense chapter with two ancient, graphic, and frankly disgusting proverbs to make absolutely sure his point is unforgettable. And the final verse, verse 22, locks it all in. It's a stark gut punch of a visual. A dog returns to what it just threw up. A pig gets a nice bath, is perfectly clean, and then goes right back to rolling around in the mud and filth. It's about a willing, conscious choice to return to corruption. And so, this whole chapter leaves us with a heavy question that echoes down to us today. If empty words, shiny promises, can lead to such a terrible kind of bondage, what solid, real truths are you building your own freedom on? It's a sobering thought, and one that really challenges us to look at what we're choosing to believe.